אנחנו ממש, in the height of the corona, the Lavan family made aliyah from Sydney, Australia, from the land down under to Ra'anana. Chaverim, that's something we have to salute. Somebody we have to have such admiration. And I've asked Ilan if he could share in his words his relationship with Torah Mציון. And in the picture you can see his wife Shira, his daughters Yakira, Nili, and Eden. I can't see her, but you'll tell us where she's hiding. And Ilan, Vakasha, our partner from Sydney, our Ole that came in the corona to Eretz Yisrael. Vakasha, Ilan.
Thank you, Zev. You can't see Eden because she's in my wife's tummy. Yes, my wife made Aliyah 6 months pregnant, and last month she gave birth to a beautiful girl called Eden. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to speak. At Tabarit. We wanted to make it in time. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me to speak, and thank you for all your efforts in Torah Mציון. First and foremost, I can see Rav Blackman's here with us today. If it wasn't for him and his leadership, then Torah Mציון in Sydney wouldn't have happened, and it wouldn't have grown, and it wouldn't have strived over the last 10, 15 years. So a big hakarat tov to Rabbi David Blackman as well. I'd like to share my story of my aliyah. It's a 15-year journey. Being a student in Mariah College in Sydney, Australia, being a religious student, unfortunately, you're a minority. You're one of the only ones wearing kippot, and you're the only ones that are interested in Yiddishkeit. And around year 10, I came to school one day and I saw 4 boys, long tzitzit sticking out, sandals, not wearing the school uniform. And it was the Hesder boys, as they call them in Sydney, the Bachurim from Torah Mציון. I automatically made an amazing connection with them. And ultimately, they inspired me to attend Yeshivat Har Etzion, where I learned with Rabbi Averman, who's also Rosh Kollel in America. And they inspired me throughout those last few years of school to create a stronger connection to my Yiddishkeit. While I was there in Yeshivat Har Etzion, one night, I met a friend who was going to be a future lifelong friend called Avichai Berkowitz. In my first conversation with him, I was always looking for people to bring back to Sydney as shlichim. I was always recruiting, even my time back then. And I said to him, Avichai, Sydney's an amazing place, but we need amazing people like you. You need to come as a Hesder boy when you finish your time in the army. A few years later, me and Avichai had lost touch, but again, he followed through and he came to Sydney. Avichai Berkowitz, he took the community by storm. Single-handedly, he organized a trip for 30 students, a 23-year-old organized a trip for 30 students to go to Israel. He fundraised the trip himself. He organized the logistics himself. He organized which yeshiva and midrasha they would go to. And those students, a lot of those students have made Aliyah since, and ultimately came close to Yiddishkeit as a result of his efforts. And I said to Avichai, listen, I know you've done 1 year as Torah Mציon, but for me, I don't think that's enough. And when I was appointed the director of experiential Jewish education, I said, Avichai, you need to come back as a Rosh Kollel. Avichai ultimately came back as a Rosh Kollel. He spent just under 3 years in Sydney and had an amazing influence. But Avichai said to me, Ilan, you've brought me to Sydney, but now I need to bring you to Israel. You've grown a lot in Sydney. You had an amazing impact on the Sydney Jewish community, but for you to grow, you can't grow anymore here. You've had an amazing upbringing, but for you to grow, you need to grow in Israel. And for me, that got me thinking, as well as with a lot of other people that were inspiring me in Sydney to make Aliyah. And ultimately, last year during the Corona, we made the step. And for me, if it wasn't for Torah Mציon, if it wasn't for the Bachurim over the last 10, 15 years, and if it wasn't for Avichai's influence, I don't think we'd be here. Just a short idea, last week on Achrei Mot, the Rambam, he says the first halacha after Yom Kippur, you need to go home to your wife. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains there that this signifies for us that even if you're in the holiest of holiest places, it means nothing unless you bring it down to the world. And for me, that's what Torah Mציon is, bringing the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael and what they learn within the 4 walls of their Beit Midrash and bringing it to Chutz La'aretz. And for me, if it wasn't for Torah Mitzion's outreach throughout the world, I'm not sure if we'd be here today. And for you, Zev, and for everyone involved, I'd like to share Hakarat Tov.
Thank you, Ilan, very, very much. And your story is so moving, and what the impact of Torah Mציון all the years has been in every kihila. As you mentioned, Sydney and in Uruguay. And hopefully this coming year, we're going to restart Shlichim of the Corona Challenge in Cape Town and in Washington. And we're indebted to all our friends where there has been Torah Mציון, whether in St. Louis and whether it's in Detroit and whether it's Mexico. Baruch Hashem, all the years, all the places. And it wouldn't be without people like you that have given them a warm welcome, the partners, the wonderful Shlichim. And I want to say that it's a zchut, all of us in the tzevet, the wonderful tzevet here, to be able to devote our lives to Am Yisrael, to devote our lives to strengthen Torah Israel, and to devote our lives and to see what this dream come true. 25 years has been an amazing journey. And when you meet such beautiful people along the way, like the Shlichim, like you, Rotem, and you, Ilan, on the community side, and the supporters, this is a success story come true, and it's all coming together. And the book is just the excuse to show the fruits of such wonderful relationships, what wonderful Torah, what wonderful impact. And Bezrat Hashem, we can continue that. Your book's waiting for you.